courtside, but we're going to have some fun here in studio. I'm Charlie Arnold, joined in New York by Max Kellerman,
Cleaned
NBA
up your
analyst
Look
Ryan
at this.
Hollins
He cleans up
in
nice.
the muted suit, and NFL
glad.
analyst Dominique Foxworth. Hello, guys. How we doing?
I'm glad you showed up this morning, man. Things got ugly for you all week.
Deluded. Nothing's going to save you from this right now, all right? It's too late. You're on the show. You can't talk your way out of it.
Segment after segment, day after day. How do you deal with it, Kellerman?
That's a rhetorical.
There's no answer to that question, Ryan. But all right, guys, let's get right into things. After being traded to the Thunder in exchange for Russell Westbrook, we thought we'd see Chris Paul find a new home on a contending team sooner rather than later. But now it looks like the 9-time All-Star may be starting the season in OKC. Sources tell ESPN CP3, he still has 3 years, $124 million left on his contract. So finding a team to unload him this late in free agency proving to be more difficult than expected. Max, is Chris Paul still an elite player?
Nope, and I don't even have to define elite because you know he's not elite. Watch this. Point guards in the NBA. Let's start. Should you be a top 3 player at your position? Top 5? To be able to, how many guys ahead of you at your position do there need to be before you're not considered elite? Who's better, Chris Paul or Steph Curry or James Harden or Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving, or a million? Like, there's so, is he top 10? I don't know. Like, you'd have to sit down and look. That's not elite. You're shooting 42% barely from the field. That's not elite. You're shooting from 3 under league average, but you take 6+ threes a game. That's not elite. By the way, you have a bad reputation in locker rooms, right? Like it only fits into certain locker rooms. No one questions his work ethic or his his desire to win. We understand that, but it doesn't rub everyone the right way in all those locker rooms. Is that elite? No, none of those things are elite. Here's the final test. Think about the roster they got in OKC. Anyone expecting a lot from OKC this year? Yeah, if Chris Paul were elite, if you took an elite point guard and put him with Gallinari and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Steven Adams, you'd be like, oh, look at that. That's a little squad. You don't think of them as a squad. He is not. He's a good player. He is far from elite.
The disrespect that has been shown to Chris Paul over the last several weeks is out of control. So we both agree that being a point guard in this league, or generally being a point guard, is not someone that you can win. Having your best player as a point guard is not a way that you can win in this league. That goes for all point guards.
Who agrees to that? Hold on. Who agrees to that?
Well,
we'll get into that later.
The point is, he is as good as you can, or close to as good as you can get at that point guard position. So we're looking at his stats. Chris Paul is an outstanding point guard. On the 4 games that he played without James Harden, he averaged over 20 points and over 11 assists. He's still very
Did they
good.
win those games?
You can't win every game. I don't know, honestly. I would
An
look up to see
elite
if he won
player
the game.
will win a regular season game.
Anyway, the point is, we all agreed when he went down there with Harden that it wasn't a perfect fit because they're both ball-dominant players. So I think that the value of Chris Paul has gone down significantly because he was in a situation where he was not.
May I quick, Ryan, before you jump in?
Please.
Look, he was in Houston 2 years. He was playing with James Harden 2 years. So we have a basis of comparison, right? I just pulled it up in front of me to get you the numbers from 2 years ago. 46% from the field to under 42% from the field. 3-point percentage, 38% to under 36%. Like, he declined as a player. We're not giving him a Lifetime Achievement Award.
No one's saying he's giving a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I agree with you that adding Chris Paul to a team doesn't instantly make them a championship contender. But we're talking about Chris Paul as if he's bad. Chris Paul is a very, very good player, and he is still good enough to be a lead player, a top 2 or top 3 player on a championship caliber team. Just because he was with Harden in a situation that was not ideal for him, we're looking at him like he is awful. He can still play defense at a pretty high level. I just heard Jalen Rose say it this morning, so don't blame me. The man said it this morning on Get Up. He said he can play
Who's he gonna guard?
defense of multiple positions at a high level. Jalen Rose said it. Don't get mad at me, get mad at him. So the guy is a very, very good player. Whether he's elite or not is semantics, what you consider elite. But you guys pretending as if Chris Paul is not good enough to be a leader on a championship team?
Yeah.
So Chris Paul,
Hold on,
answer the question. Chris Paul can't be the point guard on a championship team.
You know I'm over here, right? You know it's not just the
Please,
Kellerman. When's the last time he was an All-Star? 4 seasons. When's the last time he's been healthy? Hold on.
You're going to ask the question. Was there a question mark or not a question mark?
It's clearly obvious. It hasn't been 4 seasons. Here's the reality. When he was moved to the Thunder, the first thing they voice and say is, we are moving and trading Chris Paul. The first thing, hey, he will never wear an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey. You would never have said something about this. I played with Chris, and the one thing I will say in response, Chris is going to go down as one of the greatest point guards we've ever seen play the game of basketball. He's going to be remembered for the pick and roll. But in all reality, Father Time is undefeated. He's not the same player.
This is why I was only arguing with Max, because those are 2 trash arguments. So that he hasn't made it to All-Star game.
Hold on, let me fix this.
I just let you talk.
Dominic, so what is elite? I got to figure out
how many times you went to an All-Star game. Like, we all know that an All-Star game is not the end-all be-all. It's about fan vote and about other stuff. That's not even a good argument.
How do you define elite?
That's not even a good argument.
How do you define elite?
I'm defining elite as the type of guy that I can put on a team. He can be a top 2 or 3 player on a team that can win a championship.
But he can't, because
I believe he can.
Okay, Dominic, we just
believe he can.
A guy on the team?
Guys, we just saw him in the most efficient system in the NBA. It's ugly, criticized for its effectiveness in the playoffs. It's a very efficient system. He was the 2nd best player on that team. They had other very good players, and they were well coached. They didn't win a championship.
So come on, Max. Just because they didn't,
last year they went backwards.
Just because they didn't win a championship does not mean that they were not a championship caliber team. We all agree that in the entire league, there were only a few teams that had realistic championship aspirations. And with Chris Paul as their 2nd best player, they had real championship aspirations. They took the eventual champs to game 7.
That was 2 years ago. Yes,
that's fine.
Wait, if you asked me
if you
asked me 2 years ago, is Chris Paul elite? I would agree with you. Then last year happened. You pretend it didn't happen?
Right. I believe that Chris Paul has not declined to the point that his stats suggest. It's 1 season. I think that he is good. There was a lot of other turmoil in there that impacted the way that he performed. My argument is that, so if you'll give me that Chris Paul was elite 2 years ago. Okay, my argument is that Chris Paul can return that. NBA players have had great seasons at 34. You can go through history. Stockton and Jordan and lots of players have had great seasons at 34.
So you're saying he can rebound. You're guessing he can rebound.
I believe that last year was more of an aberration than the trend going forward.
Brian. Here's the reality. As far as Chris Paul's injuries are concerned, we have to acknowledge injuries. The one thing he did, he tore up that knee for the Hornets, and then after that, he hurt his hamstring. And you know it's more of a football injury. When you hurt that hamstring, you go and play on it, it doesn't heal the right way, it's literally never the same. Chris Paul is to a point in his career, well, he'll never play 82 games. He'll never be able to get you through a season. And if we're going to talk about elite, one elite player on a squad gets you to the playoffs. Chris Paul alone does not get you to the playoffs. I'll bring up a name. Is Kemba Walker elite?
I think so.
And he got you to.
How many can you have elite, though?
And he literally got you, like, everybody cannot be elite. Now, can he have moments? Can Chris hit a game winner? I'll give you that. He possibly has that.
Who's better, Chris Paul right now? Who's better, Chris Paul or Mike Conley Jr. right now?
Mike Conley.
Mike Conley Jr. or Chris Paul?
Chris Paul.
Is better than Mike Conley Jr., yes or no?
Not even close, bro. Not even close,
Mike
bro.
Conley's
Not
better
even
than
close,
Chris Paul.
bro.
Right now,
if you're talking,
Mike Conley's the 8th best point guard in the league.
The point that I'm making, and thank you so much, Max, for helping me with that, is that Chris Paul can return to the Chris Paul of 2 years ago, which we both agree was elite. You're arguing that he can't do that. I think that's absurd. He can. It's not like I'm asking him to go back to Chris Paul of 10 years ago. If you believe that he
elite players
you
can miss the entire. Can he play 82 games?
That's
simple.
Here's what it
can
comes
he
down
play
to.
82 games?
Being elite and saying that
Kawhi didn't play 82 games either. But look, here's what it comes down to. You're guessing that he can return to that being that player.
You're guessing that he's going to continue to be.
What I'm saying is, at the age of 34, coming off the worst season of his career,
hold on, stop right there.
Stop right there.
Why was last year And because it was part because he was injured, and it's part because of the fit and the chemistry with Harden.
What about the year before? That seemed to be fine.
I know, but you just said that he was elite
All right,
that
guys,
season.
we got to wrap
so
up
the
this
point is you're making my point.
Max,
You're making my
Ryan,
point
you guys say
that part of
he
the
is
issue
not
was
elite,
injury and
Dominic.
chemistry.
You still
It's
contend
physical.
he is elite. He was one of 5 players
You
last
played the
season
game.
to average
This was
15
crazy.
points
You
per game,
played the
8
game
assists per
too,
game. Others
Dominic.
being LeBron, Westbrook, John Wall, and Trae Young. However, to your point, Ryan, you said he will never get you through an entire season. He has only played more than 70 games once in the last 8 seasons.
What?
All right, yep.
More than 70 games once in the last 8
Yep,
seasons?
that's it. That's it.
But he's
That's
gonna
the
bounce
stat for it.
back.
All right, guys, we're moving
You're
on. What else we got?
A lot more to come on First Take. Broncos report to training camp today. Which QB is under the most pressure in the AFC West? And is the relationship between LeBron James and agent Rich Paul good or bad for the NBA? Plus, an anonymous GM in the West says that Kawhi is